Music matters. Mr. Eli Holland.
What's up?
How are you, brother?
I am doing fucking good.
You're looking insane right now with the glass combo with the... what are the black numbers on your hand?
2516.
This is insane, bro. This is like one of the craziest looks you've ever had.
Can we get on with the pod, please, dude? What the hell? We're going to keep talking about what's on my arms right now?
Yeah.
Or are we going to talk about what the meaning is behind it?
What's the meaning behind it?
We're here to talk about my first single.
Type.
Basically, like, it went from me in my fucking studio doing nothing, just alone, just cooking up, to, like, releasing it to the world. And, yeah, we're going to be talking about my single, Sisyphus. This is the shit. And so, the colors of Sisyphus are blue and green. That's the color scheme.
Uh-huh.
Little Easter eggs, you know.
Type.
But it's not very, like, cryptic if I explain it, the whole thing. So, what's your first question?
There's a very big peanut gallery here right now.
Hey!
What were your, like, overwhelming emotions this week?
Hey!
A goddamn peanut gallery.
Hold on. All right, quiet on set. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks.
girl,
All right,
please.
we're good.
All right, cool. Thank you.
What's up?
How was this week for you? What were your overwhelming emotions? How was everything?
God, everything's better on the West Coast, dude.
Do you want to talk about, like, from your perspective, I guess, well, from both of our perspectives, what we did this week and, like, why we did it and what it is and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Why don't we start with fucking...
Start at the beginning.
Yeah, how do we all meet, dude?
Yeah.
You know? So, I've had a friend for a long time. She started dating this wonderful man, David. David, come here for a sec. David, come here.
David's here.
This is David Cook.
That was crazy.
Sick.
I didn't sign off on that.
This man started dating this friend that I've had for a long time. And she introduced us. And, like, I think one of the first questions I ever asked that man was, who is your favorite Beatle? And we both like Paul McCartney. So, yeah, so we hit it off. It's been great. And then David fucking Cook and you grew up together in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we got connected. I sent you some of my music. And, what did you think?
And now we're here. Yeah. Well, I remember we actually just found it last night. You, like, DM'd me, like, last September. Like, it would have been last year. Just, like, saying what's up. And then we talked a little bit. And then I saw a video of you playing a song that David wrote. And I was, like, floored. I was like, whoa, like, it like, blew my mind. Oh, excuse me. It like, blew my mind. And then from there... I think we talked, like, a little bit more, and then you sent me some music. And then, through the power of a beautiful thing called Indify, Eli Holland is the first, like, official Above the Bridge artist that we are, like, working on and doing all his campaigns and, like, creative direction and world building, et cetera, which is cool because you're from, like, it's, like, more of, like, a from-scratch project because you have, like, no music out.
Exactly, no music. Yeah, I really did take the approach with, and I'm glad I did. I think we did it the right way.
Yeah.
I took the time for like a year or two just being in the studio alone, just like making a shit ton of music, writing and getting to a place where like I went through the trial and error, you know, sort of behind the scenes, and got to a place where I was happy with it, and then we talked and we were able to have a whole plan out the gate without anything released, like fully, like that's my thing. I always want to be 10 steps ahead of every process, and so I'm glad we did it this way. And yeah.
Was that all calculated? Like when you started writing stuff, like what was the first stuff that you ever wrote, and then how did you get it to a place where you're at now? And why didn't you just throw a bunch of shit at the wall? Like what was your reaction to kind of like making the first stuff versus the stuff now?
Well, I used to make more just like SoundCloud rap type stuff back in the day, and I did a lot of that. I made a lot of those songs, and there was a moment there where I almost like quit. I was like, just stuff wasn't hitting, and I just didn't have much time to do the music, and so I thought about quitting, but I just knew, like, you know, ever since I was 5, I've been like giving concerts on for my parents and stuff, and been in musical theater my whole life and stuff. So I knew that like I couldn't stop doing the music. Just kept playing piano through all of it, and then we had a big move and went and had a studio, and I really just got into it more. And so like in the process of building the studio, you know, I made some songs just on my phone on GarageBand, messing around and and it sort of reunited that spark. And also in that time, without having a studio, the like limitations, breeds creativity stuff. It was like I just had me and the piano for like months, and like this urge to get stuff out, going through all this stuff in life, and I didn't have the studio yet or an outlet to actually record it, and so I just wrote and just kept writing and letting my full like emotions out. And once I got through that phase, and then we built the studio, started working on like producing stuff more, getting used to all the audio equipment, and I knew that was the plan. Like, get a bit of time just like making a bunch of stuff, getting the whole studio figured out, and then start recording, and I knew stuff would happen. And then having a real piano now has been like so crucial to that. And plugins and stuff, and so then I just started making stuff, and then I made this one song right before Sisyphus that was like, oh my god, this is the best song I've ever made. And that
what song was it?
It's called Butterflies.
Okay.
It's a smaller one, but I made that one, and yeah, it was like it felt like just big steps of progress along the way, which I hadn't had in the past really, where it was like within 1 month of having the studio, I came out with the best song I ever made. And then the next day I started working on Sisyphus, which is now the first single.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like just tiptoeing into stuff like with a general idea of what I wanted, but still knowing that like I gave up on the whole like just trying from the beginning just myself on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, and just really focused on the music and stuff. And then once I got that part down, I knew that like, yeah, I wanted to be super calculated with it. What
like made you take a step back? Like, what made you stop like just throwing stuff out on SoundCloud? Like, when did you kind of realize you needed to take a step back and be more calculated with your approach? Like, was there an artist, or was it just like you saw people doing around you? Like, when did you kind of get that mindset?
Well, so a big part is, this is back when I lived in California still, before the big move.
Yeah.
And so in that situation, I didn't have a studio. I had a little corner in my really small room with just, simple setup. I like was just lacking in equipment I needed, specifically for like doing piano stuff. It's so hard to get by with just MIDI stuff if you want to do big ballads and stuff. And so it was the culmination of that, and I also kept going through the cycle of like, making a bunch of music. It was like pretty good. Never was in love with it. Putting it out, and then like a month later, taking it down, not wanting to do it. Starting to post on social media and stuff, and just not getting any traction. And so then it was like, I needed to take a step away from that. And then a lot of stuff that happened in life made it so there was a bit where I couldn't even do music. And so, yeah, I stepped away then. Yeah.
It's like an underrated issue too. It's like falling in love with the things that you create, I feel like. Like, I feel like it's so easy to just throw shit at the wall for so long and never take that step back. Like, I feel like there was a while where I did that for a long time. And I think like you get in this mindset where it becomes like quantity over quality. And you just start like throwing stuff at the wall and like making things just to make them, and you never take a step back and realize like, okay, what am I actually trying to do here? And and it's difficult to look back at that, because it's like, on one hand, like, I'm thankful for that period of my life, because like if I didn't throw so much shit at the wall, I never would have been able to like rule out the stuff that I didn't like. But simultaneously, it's difficult to not be like, damn, that feels like wasted time. But it's really not, because it's just you figuring out the things that you don't want to do before you figure out the things that you want to do,
No, I mean, I have like 300 or 400 just random like type beats I made back in the day, which they're nothing great, but like I have a big approach of just making and making and making, and like, even if it's not fully there with the product, if you just like make it a bunch and just go through the steps, then the one song that does hit and is the one that's like you couldn't live without, you would not have been able to write that song or get to that point without doing all the trial and error and just being free to do a bunch, but then being picky with the end result of what you actually want to go forward with and develop more. Yeah,
I mean, I think that was one of the, because we had the conversation when I first met you, and that was one of the first things I think that like impressed me and excited me about your stuff, was that like, I remember really early you telling me about like, you always, every single song you try to include like one element that somebody would like not expect, and that's like a rule that you have.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really cool in the early days. Like, that really surprised me, because it's interesting, right? It's like, because your background is so diverse. It's like you love rap music and listen to so much different hip hop, but like you come from like a musical theater background,
Yeah, it's a very non-traditional path.
But it's interesting too, because like I almost feel like those two routes kind of share some similarities, and at least in like the performance aspect. Like, I think expressing yourself in both those ways are very bold. Like, it's not like, it's very different than being like a session player, or like very different than being like a even like a pop singer that like does like very, very produced stuff, right? It's like both hip hop and like more like theatrical driven, like even like balladry, right? Like those are very, very like expressive and like forthright ways to express yourself.
Well, to the same point, it's like that is also the like I was also the kid where like whenever I would have a little side quest, something I got into, I would like take it all the way. I wouldn't just get like one cool thing and that would be it. Like I would like, you know, I got into magic at one point and like went out on the streets in Walnut Creek and did magic on YouTube. I was a YouTuber, and I wasn't just like, you know, making videos on my phone. I like bought camera equipment and wanted to be a filmmaker and stuff, and all those different things, and all of that has culminated so perfectly into like Sisyphus and stuff I'm doing now. And it's like I'm so glad I did all those different avenues, because again, I would not be in the place I am now without doing all of that, even though I'm not doing musical theater now. You know?
Yeah,
it's like so crucial.
I mean, talking about that, so like when you were a kid and trying to kind of find your voice, like both musically and just creatively, like at that point when you were growing up, like when did you first get into theater? When did you first kind of get into like music in general? And when did you kind of like have that as part of your life in the beginning?
So I've always had it. I heard this a couple years back and didn't know this, but my parents got a little like toy ukulele from Hawaii when I was 1, and I would just be in my like my underwear and my little boots with this ukulele, like putting on a concert for them every night. And my dad has this great story where he'd be like, oh, again, and my mom would be like, honey, just listen, just sit down and listen. And I would just be like dancing like Elvis, just like mumbling a bunch of stuff. But so like since I was 1, you know, I've always had that in me. Did different like lessons here and there for drums and stuff. But musical theater I was put into at 5 years old. I was like too young. Like I didn't make the choice necessarily. It's
your parents put you into it?
Yeah, they knew I was like a performer at heart, and so saw this program and put me into it. And then I ended up doing like 30 plus musicals over that whole time. And so then it was just that. And one thing I noticed looking back too is that I was always in musical theater, but the part that I always got the most excited about and loved the most was the music part. I always like the acting was never like, it was never for me fully, and then like dancing especially was never for me, but then like all the music stuff, like later in my career of musical theater stuff, I was the guy that would like play the piano for warm-ups for the whole cast, or, like, learn the chords to the song and practice with people. And looking back, it just makes so much sense that that's what it was, and now I'm taking that part and like expanding on that aspect. Yeah.
Do you still feel like that's something you resonate with, like the theater stuff?
Not really. I mean, I've fallen away from it. I respect a lot of it. There's specifically like with arrangement and orchestrations and songwriting, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. Yeah. But it's just, I've definitely moved on as a person. I don't really listen to musical theater on my own time. Yeah. But yeah, it obviously played a huge role in what I'm doing now. Yeah,
I feel like it's a super, super interesting background to come from. Like, I feel like it's not a super traditional thing for like people who make your kind of stuff, you know? Yeah. Because I know other people who like got into theater at a young age and then like eventually became musicians, but it's like it's not really like similar to like the stuff that you are making, you know? Especially the rap part of it. Like when did you kind of find hip hop?
So, yeah, I was a late bloomer to rap. I missed the whole 2016 through 2018 era because I was just listening to the theater stuff back then. But I changed schools and went to this independent study school in 2019 and met and was with a whole different group of friends and stuff, and that's when I first got into rap. 2019, that's like my golden age in my head of rap. And it just happened from, you know, being with a bunch of friends all the time, driving places after school, and they'd be bumping rap, and then I'd like started listening to it, started getting into it. Those were some of the best times of my life too, with my homies back then. And what really like happened there with my personal music, why I'm even doing what I'm doing now, and in making personal music, is because I was listening to the rap stuff, seeing how much everybody got excited about it, you know, crazy at parties and stuff, and I started listening, my musician brain started running of like listening to the patterns, being like, yo, maybe I could do that. Like it doesn't actually sound that hard, like the trap drum patterns and stuff. And then I made one song that now listening back is pretty cringeworthy, but you know, I did it. And that was the music that I loved in that like crucial point as like a teenager growing up. And so then I started doing it, kept doing it, fell in love with it, found ways to mix my jazz background and musical theater background and singing and stuff into it where it felt like me, and it wasn't just like super hard like trap rap stuff. But yeah, that's how it started.
It's so interesting, like how big of an impact the music that the kids around us are listening to like has when we're a kid. You know, like I think about that all the time. Like I feel like I never would have like fallen in love with rap music if it wasn't for like one, where I grew up in the Bay Area, and then two, just like being around a bunch of kids who like loved hip hop. I mean, we always talk about like how we both love so much like random ass Bay Area music, and that is like such a far cry from like a lot of the stuff I listen to now. But it's like I still go back to it, and it still resonates with me, and it still hits me because it's like, I don't know, like there's certain like SOB songs, for example, like remind me of like just really really specific like instances when I was like in high school, you know.
Yeah.
Was your experience in high school with music interesting? Like, where did you kind of fall? Like, were you promoting your music to people you were around at school? Were they into it? Were they not?
So yeah, it was like I had a small friend group. It was an independent study school that there was like maybe 30 kids at the whole school, and we had this big friend group that all happened to be around the same age, into the same stuff, and it was like maybe 8 of us or something, and we were super tight. We would like we had classes together. It was just this one big group, and so they'd be playing all this rap stuff, and I'd be listening, and I cannot lie, I forgot what your question was.
I was asking like what their reaction was to it. Like, were you promoting it at school and everything when you were in high school?
Yeah, so I had like 1 or 2 friends that were actually like super supportive. I got them on songs and stuff too. One of them, I was like rapping about my cat, and I wrote a verse for her rapping about her dog. Yeah. And it was just it was just a fun time, and we had this little like release party of that album and stuff. So they were definitely supportive. In fact, that's what really like ignited me getting so excited about this stuff, is like because since I came from a musical theater background and jazz and stuff, like me coming out with a rap song that was remotely good at all was like so shocking. So when I had that first song and showed my friends, they were like, yo, what? Like, that's crazy, you made this. And so it was moments like that like stuck with me, of like that feeling of being able to create something that affects a bunch of other people, that just gets them hyped up, even if nothing more, you know?
I feel like as creatives we're like always chasing that moment. Like, I don't know, I think to a degree, like that's chasing that moment where like you can see it in someone's eyes that it affected them in a certain way, you know, like something you created. It's like chasing that ability to affect people in that way.
Nothing gets better, dude.
Yeah, because there's really like nothing, I don't know, like for me, I'm interested to see if you feel the same way, but it's like for me, like nothing impacts me like music does, like really at all. Like there isn't anything that like I feel as much as I feel music, you know. It's like there's been times in my life where I think I've felt like numb or like haven't felt a ton of stuff, but then like music is something that I, no matter what mood I'm in, whether it's happy music or sad music or whatever, like it impacts me in a way that nothing else does, you know?
Yeah. It's, well, you know, we've talked a lot about this aspect of stuff, but in a way, music has sort of been ruined for me in a lot of those things, because I see stuff so technically now that a lot of the emotion has been removed, but like it's still so there. Like Mac Miller, you know, one of my favorite artists, Circles helped me get through so many times in my life, and even Tyler, the Creator, just like literally in your car alone bumping the whole album, just bawling your eyes out, but it's like so healing. Shit like that is and musical theater, again, like that's the whole thing, is that it's like supposed to be emotion. It's supposed to be like them talking in real life, and then they start singing their emotions. And like there's some fucking musical theater ballads and stuff that like are still gut wrenching to this day. Yeah, so it's there. Do
you like think there will ever be a point in your life where you can like, because we've talked about this before, how like it's difficult for you to remove theory from some of the stuff you listen to, and like you very often find yourself getting like bogged down by feeling like, or thinking about everything theoretically. Do you think that's something you want to get out of, or does it bother you, or do you like it?
It's I go back and forth with that question, because like so like a little backstory with that is just that it's almost like I passed the level. Like I got to a point where basically I just know all the different patterns in like majority of music, and so then when I hear it, it doesn't sound original to me, and it sounds like simple and stuff, because I just like know how it works. And that's like how I can play music so quick, is that so much of music is patterns, and I've just memorized those patterns, you know. And so like on one hand, I definitely want to get more open-minded to stuff, because I feel like there's definitely moments where I miss out on a really special moment because I'm getting too technical. I call it Jacob Collieritis, you know. It's very fitting for that stuff. But also I still stick to my gut with this, that I feel like in the long run it's going to be the best thing ever, because I'm very picky about stuff, and if I can find that balance of just making amazing emotional shit that has emotion behind it and having the perfect amount of simplicity where it needs to be, but also having those crazy moments, that is going to create something so special that is like I could totally cop out of that and just like, do something simpler that I know will hit, but then it doesn't push stuff. And I'd rather make stuff weirder and only have 1 out of 10 songs hit, but then it's like super unique.
Yeah.
And not like cookie cutter or anything.
And it also feels like you that way,
Exactly.
Like I think it's so difficult to find something that like find the sound that you think feels like you, if that makes sense. Because it's like you, for example, like you could make most genres of music because you've just like done so much work to be able to get to that point. But it's like there's only certain things that feel like you, it's like certain elements feel like you. But I see what you're saying. Like I think it's interesting, right? Because it's like I think you're right. Like music is like just so pattern driven and it's almost like algorithmic at a certain point, to where at least like on a theory level, where it's like eventually, like if you study that enough, like you will understand those patterns, So like I often say that sometimes like the harder part is like letting that emotion come through. It's like the harder part is finding the way to like be human, It's like finding that level of humanity within your songs to where like you're creating something that other people will feel, and not for like technically like a theoretical reason, Right.
Yeah, true. And that's like I have this vision in my mind too of like we've talked about this too, is that I love the musician audience. Like I want the mainstream audience too that just loves it for the music, but my dream is to have a show and there's one guy that knows music theory and like he hears like a crazy chord I do and just like gets the stank face or something, and no one else even cares, no one even noticed, but for him it like satiates that part of him while still having the rapping and the stuff that is like easy to listen to. And like I always imagine songs that are like simple in my mind that have really good emotion, like if they had certain of those elements, how crazy it would be and how unique. And I've always wanted to just find that balance of having that.
Do you think when you found those people, you've clung to them, like people who feel like they understand music theory on that level, so you guys can kind of relate in that way?
David's not here.
I don't know where he went, but
yes, totally. And to be frank, I've yet to find someone that is like that just knows all this stuff at the same level I do. And sometimes it sucks because I'm like, I want to be able to mesh and not have such a big learning curve and stuff, but anytime I find someone that knows even like certain parts of what I'm talking about, it's just so satisfying, because like in a way I love using the tool and the template of all the music patterns as like it's almost like filming a movie or something. It's like you use certain locations and costumes to get the coolest, most emotional result. And I love the fact that I have it at my fingertips to basically like have all these tools in my toolbox that like if I can craft it right, can use all of that to directly like make you feel an emotion or something. And it almost feels like I'm a little like mastermind behind the scenes that can just like pull strings, and it's like, okay, I know what emotion I want to convey, and now I've had the practice to know how to translate that technically.
Yeah, that was something that was so interesting for me to start to realize. Like the fact that like there, like, because you could describe this better than I could for sure, but like the idea that there are like chords that resolve into each other in certain ways that like are able to evoke very specific emotions, like I don't know what it will be called, but like certain chords have a melancholic feel, whereas like certain chords have like a more euphoric feel. That blew my mind when I began to realize that, because that is like equally as much psychology as it is music theory, like figuring out like how to make things that people feel, which is very, very difficult. I think too, because sometimes the things that like people feel the most are like you breaking the rules,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all, they always say you learn the rules to break them, and that's what I did pretty much. Is I like learned all the rules so I can break them, but also use them. And it's so helpful to have those in my back pocket while still letting certain things feed emotion. Like certain songs, like even though I might know what the chords are, I'm not like really focusing on that. Besides, maybe adding certain extensions that make it interesting enough for my ear, but like I don't focus on that. I focus on the emotion and like what the song needs for the vocals and stuff. And it's just very powerful to have all that stuff in my back pocket and know like if I want you know, if I want you to feel sad in this moment, I know what chord to go to, and it's like so sick. And there's a bunch of those, and you can mix them up and match them, and then have moments where you aren't thinking about that way in the process, where it just is emotion based and it fits in with the other technical parts where you like actually thought it out.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a puzzle. Like that's why I love music. It's like a puzzle, but there's no rules really, because it's like so open, and so it's like a puzzle that you have to piece together, but there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's super interesting too, because like you kind of are like a prototype in a lot of ways, interestingly enough, because like you're somebody who understands music theory and songwriting very, very, very well, but you've done so without any kind of community. And like maybe in a way, like if you didn't have, like if you had the musical community, you would have never fallen into all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting. Like I think like what if you never moved to Pittsburgh and like locked yourself in that studio for a year and like wrote all these songs? Like where do you think you'd be?
It's tough to know. The thing that I've come to realize is how much this is just meant for me, music, you know, like before I even realized I was giving concerts. Like I didn't even know it was one until I was like 15 years old. And so like I've realized, over the years that no matter what it would have been, I would have been doing it, because I don't really have another choice. Like I never had a plan B for me. It was like music, and it has refined even more so down to that over the past couple of years. But it's really just been like, that's always been a part of me. I would hate myself if I just had like a desk job for the rest of my life, you know, that whole classic thing. But like, I think I would have found a way, and I've always thought in like the manifestation way of like I will get there. It's just a matter of how and when. And then it's just, you know, you just have to explore those and knock them out.
One thing I think about a lot is like, I think musicians are musicians and artists are artists, and that could be a good or a bad thing, but you can't change it. Like I think it's like the curse of being an artist in a lot of ways, you know? Like I think some people are artists and they can't change it, and it makes them a worse person very often, you know? But it's like you cannot get that out of you. I think you either have it or I don't even think that it's like you have it or you don't. But I think that like once you get it and like once it's within you, you can't reverse that, you know? Yeah.
Well, and part of our whole thing, like actually making stuff real life, not just in your room having dreams and stuff, was just like I like being locked in my room for 2 years was super helpful, because I literally just all I could do was play piano every day and just get really good at it. And so like I've gotten so much better at piano over the last couple of years, but being able to just refine my skills and stuff to the point where I realized, like looking at all these other people that are in places I wish I could be in 5 years, and being like, yo, I got it more than they do in terms of technically, like my playing, my drive, I feel, you know. And so then I would see that and see what I already have and be like, I cannot let this go to waste. And once I like had that flip in my brain of like, there's so many other people that make it, that have less resources than me, I'm gonna just do it until I can't do it anymore, and then it's inevitable, you know? Yeah,
100%. I think I think about this a lot. I think like to a certain degree, success in really anything, but I guess specifically musicianship, is a choice. Like I truly believe that like at a certain point, if you choose to be successful, then you kind of can't not be, because the only way you could not be is giving up.
Is then eventually deciding to
to like stopping, right? Because it's like failure really is a choice. Like if you just keep going over and over and over again, like day after day after day, like you don't necessarily never have to like fail, because you're only failing if you stop going. You know, like tomorrow could be the day, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It really is. And you see so many artists like Anderson .Paak or something that didn't even have, even other people that didn't even like make it big at all till they were like 50s or 60s. And you see that and you go like, I'm 21, so I got freaking 40 years until then. If you're saying like if I really didn't want it, I couldn't just in 40 years get to a place where it happens, you know, like especially given my background and having so much at hand, it's like it really is, you know, you got to follow your dreams. It's so basic, but you just, you know, if you have something you love, you should go all out.
And it's also like giving away your gift is like kind of the worst thing you can do. You know, like you are lucky enough to like get a lot of this stuff naturally, you know, obviously you've worked at it, but a lot of it is like it clicked in your brain naturally. And it's like a lot of people aren't like that and wish they were. So it's like giving that away is almost like a disservice to your gift, you know?
I've been so lucky, but then, you know, it's always a double-edged sword. Because I always say this too, it takes a little bit of delusion to be successful.
Oh, for sure,
like, you literally like have to be, you know? If you were sane, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But But yeah, so sometimes it literally seems like the worst thing ever. Like, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just like go to college and try and just work a normal job, and then that's what I know I'm doing for life? Why do I have to be the one that like happen to be good at singing and playing piano? But then obviously there's other moments where it's like I'm so grateful for that, and overall it's that. But it is understated how much it can be a negative, especially on the come up. If you make it, that's one thing, but it's definitely a double-edged sword.
What kind of like aspirations did you have when you were like in your room for those 2 years, kind of alone writing? Like, was that a happy time in your life? Was it a bad time in your life? Was it like a time of growth? Like, what were the like overwhelming emotions during that period? And like also like, was the plan at that point like, okay, I'm gonna lock in for this amount of time and then make this shit and then try to get to people and get out there and figure this out then?
So I always had the big plan of like building the studio and trying to do it, but what really pushed me was it was probably the worst time in my life. There was a month, for reasons I won't talk about, where I literally was locked in my room for a whole month. Just me in my room, go out to get food, but that was it. Didn't see anybody, just a piano.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was out of necessity. It was the type of stuff, some of my favorite music I've written, where it was like I was not sitting down to write a song. I had literally had nothing else, nothing left. It was just substances and music, and it was the only thing like getting me by. And so I had the big aspirations, but there was a point there where honestly it was just to like, my only goal was just to get out of that hole. It was like so bad that it was like I wasn't asking for much, but
it was like necessity, like you had to write. It was
literally out of necessity, and it worked out great, because you make the best music in the worst times of your life a lot. And so I made a bunch of music, and so much of it is so good. And that's what launched me into the studio and actually like locking in with the more technical aspect of just like recording songs and actually getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. So it was out of necessity.
Do you think you were motivated to do that before that period of your life?
I totally was. I mean, I would go down YouTube rabbit holes of like motivation from rappers and stuff, and there would be nights where I would like, smoke a little weed, see one of those, and be like, dude, I have to do it. I can't give up. Yeah, it's up for real. And so I always had that in me. I always had like the drive. Again, knowing the gift I had, that I've been lucky to have, it was there, but I never had the actual thing of like putting my foot down, getting to action. And to be quite frank, it's just because I didn't have the resources. It's understated how much gear does matter to an extent. Like obviously, the true creatives will do with what they have, but it's rough for certain things to not have a studio and not have time and space, and the studio now is soundproof, and I live with my family, so like now I can make as much noise as I want at any time of night. But I'm sure a lot of people deal with that being in an apartment or something where you can't, and those are the best moments to make art.
I know people like I have a friend who like literally he moved in an apartment and he just couldn't make music because like every single time he made any noise at any hour of the day, even if it was like 1 in the afternoon, his neighbor would just call the cops.
Yeah, exactly.
Like always, to the point where like they started telling this person like, you can't just keep calling the cops when this kid's playing music, like he's not doing anything wrong. I think like the equipment thing is certainly a big hurdle, but I think like arguably a bigger hurdle, and I see this a lot, is like musicians who they understand this so well, but they don't understand the business of this, or they don't understand like how to understand the business of this part, and it's like it's very, very difficult because it's really like, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's really, really hard to understand both at a high level because they both take so much time to master, and they're both such different worlds, which is also weird. It's weird that like the music industry and like music are two very, very different things, and one of them really only strictly deals in emotion, the other one deals in things that like money and greed and corporatism and stuff like that. But it's like you can go your whole life like understanding the music industry and never make good music, but you can also go your whole life making good music and never understanding the music industry. When did you kind of like, at what point did you feel like you sort of like at least a little bit begin to like understand the industry, put your music out there and kind of get to that level? Like talk about like how you met Charlie and your manager and like kind of all that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean that is, I guess, a big jump from just making music in GarageBand on my iPad. By the way, in the beginning, the first rap
some
stuff.
Madlib shit.
Yeah, exactly. But just with your friends to actually going like, okay, am I gonna make this a real like business at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And so like through a friend of a friend, I met this random kid in a small town in Minnesota over FaceTime, and we were all trying to link up and do music and stuff. He like did a little rapping at the time, and so then we met. He heard my stuff, and right away he was like, holy shit, this Eli guy, he's got something good here. And so we made a couple songs here and there, but back when I was making my like SoundCloud rap stuff, it sort of quickly fell into the position of him sort of helping out, being like a manager more, and just...
Did he know more about like the industry at that point?
Not really.
Or
We
just
basically
trying
started fully fresh from nothing. And again, he was just trying to be like a little SoundCloud rapper in the beginning. He wasn't even thinking of that. But he had experience with like business. His dad does business and stuff, and he always wanted to do something like that. And so once we talked and found out that I actually was like trying to do this for real, it quickly turned into him being like manager, putting some music out on DistroKid and stuff, helping with posts. And then there was that dark period where I moved across the country. A lot of stuff happened in life.
Wait, so you had a bunch of music out before that period, and then you just moved, took it all down, restarted?
Yes, exactly. Okay. That was a big reason of the clean slate was moving to Pittsburgh. And so when I moved to Pittsburgh, we restarted, but it had already been that he was sort of my manager and I was the artist, but it was like never fully official. And so then we talked about it more, and when I was gonna have the studio and all these opportunities, it was like, yo, I want you to be my full-on manager, and I want to be the artist, and I want to like do this, full thing. And so then we started talking. But what I love about Charlie's his name, He's a year younger than me, and we literally started from nothing, from the bottom. Yeah. So like he's not a traditional like industry manager. He's literally just a bud. We've known each other for 4 years, mainly on FaceTime. That he just wanted to help out because he believed in the music and stuff. Yeah. And so we've stayed friends, and now it's become way more business heavy, signing deals and doing all that fun stuff. And so like, I feel like I've learned a lot about the industry now. I mean, you have been a huge help for all that. But I mean, it started with not really learning about the industry, more learning about what not
to do.
Industry is. Yeah. It was the whole.
That's probably the more important part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was releasing music, and the only promo was doing a screenshot of the Spotify thing and just being stream my song, which doesn't get any clicks and stuff. And so it was doing all of that stuff, and even though the music was like pretty good, especially compared to other just random SoundCloud rapper kids and stuff, it just fell flat. And so it almost felt like, why am I even doing this then? I need to figure something out in my life,
Yeah.
And so we worked on it together. We tried from the start, but I mean, to be frank, having you with so much experience and talking with us, but also being able to talk with Charlie and go over all that stuff, I've learned a lot of that stuff. And I still feel like I don't know shit, but I'm just figuring it out day by day.
And we were talking about this last night. Like, I think it is so important that like Charlie is somebody who like is growing with you, and also like just the fact that he cares, like it just like seeps through his voice when he talks about your music. Like it's just so obvious, which is really sick. And it's interesting because it's like, I don't know if this is like an adjacent phrase or not, but like it's kind of like the equivalent to like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, Like I think someone like Charlie who like genuinely cares and like really wholeheartedly, like obviously believes in this music, that is not learnable. Like that just comes from passion. Whereas like the industry shit at a certain point isn't super cryptic or complicated. At a certain point, like I mean, some of it is to a degree, but it's nothing that like somebody can't learn if they really put their mind to it, And it's like I've seen so many managers that like it's really, really difficult, right? Because like I even struggle with this. Like, how much do you cross the friendship and the business, right? And it's really confusing at a certain point. But I'm kind of the belief that it's impossible to not cross friendship and business in music, because music is emotional. Right. Like music will never not be emotional, right? And it's like it's really easy to tell when somebody's like a music person who got into business versus a business person that got into music, right? Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I think it's impossible to take emotion out of music. Just because it becomes business doesn't mean it's no longer emotional. I don't think there's any way to take emotion out of it, So it's like does like then like can you really separate the business and the friendship in like a musical sense? I don't know. Maybe to a degree. Like maybe to a degree if you like, let's say like, you know, you're just doing production for somebody and you should enjoy the music, and maybe then it doesn't have to be emotional. But with something like a manager, like I don't really believe in the idea that a manager should be only business. Like the best managers that I've ever seen and ever met, and the ones that end up being the most successful, are the ones that have like 2 to 3 to 4 clients that they are incredibly close friends with and like really, really, really believe in, like genuinely, like from the ground up, wholeheartedly believe in. And that's hard to find. Like that was like, I mean, like I'm so grateful for you and just finding your music, because it's like, you know, like the ability to like sign like creative deals through AboveTheBridge and kind of like begin to like help artists with the world building, kind of like do creative direction for artists, like that only became possible because of everything I did before. But it was like there's only like been like a handful of artists who like come along and like I would work with them for a long time. You were one of them, but like because it's a lot deeper than just like the music. I think like if I liked you or if I didn't like you, I probably wouldn't be doing this, because like I just don't like I want to be your friend, you know, like I don't want to just like sign a deal, like do like help you with creative direction, help you with visuals and world building and stuff, and then that's it. We just have a call about business and then don't talk anymore. Like that's just not fun to me. Like I think you can do that if you're like a lawyer, or you can do that if you're like a accountant or something, but music is just so strictly emotional to me. Like I don't think you can take the emotion out of it, you know? It's like a hard thing to do. But it's weird. But all that to say that like I think it's really sick that like you have a manager that like not only believes in the music but believes in you and like you're friends with, you know.
The thing that's crazy is like through this whole huge move in my life and everything going down, basically he's always been there also as just a homie to call and talk about stuff. So he knows about all my past with my exes and all that stuff, but that's also been connected to the music in such a beautiful way, because I would write music about what I was going through. And so in the sort of manager role, and you know, he'd want to hear that, but also he wanted to like make sure I was okay, you know, like if I played him a song that was really sad, deep, he wouldn't just be like, all right, sick, we're gonna make a bunch of money from this. He'd be like, yo, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about that? You know, type stuff, where it's like, he's like a great support as a friend, but then also the thing that I love about you and like everyone I'm surrounded with here so much is the balance between locking in, actually getting stuff done, you know, making moves in silence,
type
shit, doing that, but also like having a good time, having it feel like you're just like having fun with your friends. It's like the best day ever that you remember the fun memories for, but in the midst of that you still get stuff done. And so like Charlie is really great with that, because he's like my backbone of like always pushing me. Like, you know, he's the one person that is like the opposite of a yes man, and that like he'll just tell me how it
perfect,
is, which is so amazing. Like, and I trust his ear a lot. Like almost every change he has me make for songs and stuff, I'm like, I never would have thought of that, but that's freaking genius. And so like he's almost a part of the creation in small aspects too. And it's been the perfect mix of we are homies and have like laughs together, and it's super fun, but also we get stuff done, and sometimes he's the one that's trying to get stuff done more than I am, but it's great to have that always be pushing me and, you know, under me, just like, let's have fun, let's have a great time, but also we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and that's what I need, is like a sense of progress, of like always doing stuff, but I don't want to hate myself in the process. And that's what's been so great about Charlie. I
think that balance is the hardest part. Like not hating yourself based on what you're creating or not creating, for that matter, you know, and like having it remain something that's like incredibly fun and joyful in your life, but like also trying to make it your career. That's like hard, bro. Like I've struggled with that a lot. Like it's so difficult to not let this cross over into like insanity, you know, especially when you're like as obsessed with it as we are. Like it's very, very difficult to remain balanced in a way where like when you think about making music, or like for me, like, you know, like working with you or like doing interviews or throwing shows or whatever, like the fun comes first. Because it's like by definition, like this, it's really difficult for this to maintain the same kind of like work lifestyle that like a lot of other career paths have, you know. Like music, for anybody who loves music, will never be a 9-to-5 thing, ever. It doesn't matter if you work in it or you don't. Like music for me will never be a 9-to-5 thing. Like and I'm lucky enough to like, you know, do it as a job, but it's like it's never going to be a 9 to 5 thing for me. Like, it's like I think about it all day, every day. And like the balance, I think, is figuring out the best way to implement it into your life in a way that's like strictly productive, you know, and doesn't like take away from it, you know?
Yep. Yeah. That is the balance for sure. But I've just seen like so many of my biggest idols, you know, Mac and Paul McCartney and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the key thing I always see, I think it's actually like a pattern of the guys who've made it the farthest and stuff. They're always the ones that have the most laughs and the most fun, you know, off camera and stuff. But then like someone like Paul too, you hear like the Let It Be tapes, and it's like they're literally just joking around, having just laughs and being all goofy and stuff. But then the minute they hit record, they make the best song ever, you know? So
like, did you, when you were in that period of your life, in that like 2 year period where you were kind of just making a bunch of music, what was like your schedule like? Like, were you like really focused on trying to make stuff, or what, like, did you have ideas that you fleshed out, or was it like every single day you just sat down the piano, whatever came out?
SoundCloud rap stuff?
No, like once you already went to Pittsburgh and we're in that period of like just in creating
stuff at piano? What was the question?
I was saying, like, when you were in that period of your life, like, how did you not let it cross over to a place of obsession? Like, how did you kind of maintain that balance in your life?
There was a moment where it did. It was again, it was like at a point where it was like all I had left. It was like literally I had nothing, and then hopefully something came good out of the music and stuff. And so it did. I've had addiction or music. I've treated it as an addiction in certain times in the past, which I think is crucial to being able to be you know, make progress with stuff and jump steps. Is there has to be moments where it literally is like an addiction, but only an addiction that has benefits, you know, like one where like you're crazy because you're having to do this all the time and just like really lock in all the time, but also that's what you need to do to get to the next step. And it doesn't break you at the end of the day. It's like a temporary thing. Yeah,
for sure. When you were like there kind of just like creating every single day, did you, well, I suppose I didn't answer this question, but like, you didn't really have much of like a musical community around you, right?
I literally had nobody, like not even my family, pretty much. I locked myself away and just like isolated myself because of a lot of stuff going on, and just shut down basically. It was like there was no other option in my head. It was just I just was at my lowest, and and so creating every day, it was literally like the thing to do. It was like you sleep, you wake up, you eat, you smoke weed, you drink some Smirnoffs, and then you make music. And that's literally all I had. And you know, moving to a new place on top of that, stuff going on in life, it was like it's just crazy to me how all the stuff that came out of that is like some of the best music I think I made. Yeah. And it really goes to show how much being in those times, like there's kind of a beauty in the necessity of that in an artist's mind, because someone that doesn't have an artist mind would be in that same low point, but that would be it. But like an artist mind takes it and not even try, like it was literally like it felt like the only thing I had, and so I had to do it because like I didn't have anything else going for me. And then it turned out being like the most productive thing, making like 23 songs or something, fully fledged out, 5 minutes long, you know, like all that stuff, and just really good lyrics and really good art as a whole. Stuff like that was like, it just reiterated the beauty of how struggling, but being an artist while you're struggling has the best results. Like out with such beautiful art.
Do you feel like you're starting to like build more of a musical community now? Like, what are the steps you want to take to that? Like, it's been really cool to watch you come out here and meet like a bunch of musicians and stuff. That's been really, really sick.
It's been literally a matter of being in a new state, a way smaller town, and not relating with the people out there. Not even really, you know, I don't go to school. I don't work like a traditional job and stuff, so I never really had outlets to meet anyone. And so I basically am just there alone. And I had a pretty good circle too, and like music related, but right before I left, and so it really like hit me like a train that I had no one and nothing. And so it really just happened from getting flown out to surprise David over here for his birthday, and realizing like, holy shit, like, you know, it's worth it to just work a bunch, save up, buy a ticket just to get like a week or two of like being back at home with other people where I don't have to explain my whole backstory because they're from the same place that I am.
Yeah.
You know? So like it's just been returning to my roots that's been doing it. And so it's like I'm stepping out of my comfort zone in meeting new people, and now I live across the country from all these people I'm meeting, but also like, yeah, I just had to return home and go back to my roots and just be in positions, and one person leads to two people and it just builds. So
yeah, it's gotta be such a weird like double life. Like I feel like now, like especially the more and more you come out here, it'll be weirder and weirder when you go back to like Pittsburgh. Now I feel like I've been thinking about that this whole weekend with all the shoots we're doing, just knowing in like 2 weeks I'll just be back at home. And it has its beauty in it though, because I have the studio there, and something I wish I would have in California or something. But then that isolation, in a way, if I use it right, can be used productively, because being out here with everyone all the time doesn't really leave that vulnerability and that open space for like the super deep personal songs and stuff. And even just the True.
It's nice being alone in Pittsburgh in terms of just creating music, because, and since I like produce it all and everything, I literally can I have nothing else to distract me. It's literally like I have a job, I need to get it done, and I start doing it. And then it's really helpful for that, to just really lock in and get music done.
That's a really good point. Like, I mean, I always fuck with you and say, oh, move out here. But like, there is something to be said about that, I think. Like, it is so easy, I think, when you move here to get lost in like the extracurriculars and get lost in like the sauce, as they say, but just get lost in the going out and the indulging and everything, where it's like you kind of being like halfway across the country from like most of that, there's not like, at least you're not really in that scene of people in Pittsburgh, at least. It does provide a lot of advantages, but there's also like disadvantages, so it's kind of like a push and a pull. Like, I never know whether or not to recommend people move here. Like, it worked out for me, it really changed my life, but it's like, I think I just had I had like a lot of resources in the Bay Area, and I found a lot of resources, but it was like they weren't the right ones at a certain point, and it was like that made things a lot more difficult to like grow upwardly in the direction that I wanted to grow in. And it was also like I just needed to move. Like, I just need to like experience something other than the Bay Area. Like, it was all I knew, and I love it to death. Like, the Bay is my favorite place in the world. Like, it is such a big part of me. But like, I just needed to figure something else out, and it took like moving to LA, I think, to like really, really like broaden my horizons. Like, I don't know if I fully understood like what the potential, what I was doing was, until I moved here. Like, it really just blows your like it blows your mind in terms of like it opens up new doorways, and you think like about so many new things and like things that you can do and ways that you can change and ways that you can move,
already just in the past literally 3 days or whatever of us shooting and stuff, I've been in positions that are so surreal that like I literally was manifesting a year or two ago. Not like, it felt so far removed from actuality of like having a full band live session and stuff to learn my music and my really fucking hard music and really hard chords. Getting enough people involved to get that done would just seem like such a far cry, but like something I always wanted to do. And yeah, exactly that. And like, I mean, I love LA. I think I'm built for LA. I like city stuff. I love the weather. I like the flatness. But also I grew up in LA a little bit. Like, I have family out here, and so we would come here every year to visit, and Beverly Hills too. So it was a nice place to visit down here. And so like I have connections to here with that, and I love the weather. But also, with the music stuff, it feels like a no-brainer. And fuck it, I'm gonna be on my manifestation shit. I'm gonna be living in LA within the next 5 years.
Hell yeah,
dude. Because
sooner than that.
Yeah, sooner, but for sure, because I love it out here, and it's just you get so much shit done. But also, I just feel so creative. Like, I feel that fire, that flame in me again of like, I got the shit. I need to use it to its full potential and just blow the shit out of the water.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is the thing that like I will say about LA, right? It's like what we just did this whole weekend, like I don't think would have been possible if we both still live in the Bay Area, and it definitely wouldn't have been possible in Pittsburgh. Well, maybe it would have been, but I just wouldn't have been able to make it happen. It's just
everything's set up for that stuff here, where it's like, and then you having literally almost like a content house here, where you have
never say that ever again. Content house is crazy.
It's a content house.
Content.
It's the ATV house.
Content. What were you saying? Sorry.
But just in that, like, everyone is here on a mission. You're not just like a bunch of roommates in a cool place that are going to school. You all are like have this thing of ATB in the garage going on. You like, you know, you have photographers, you have musicians, all that shit as your roommates and shit. And so everything is here ready to go. But not only that, everyone surrounding here is open-minded enough and like wanting to help people with their specific visions and stuff, where like that is really hard to find in a place that doesn't have such a big scene of like, that's the whole point people move here most of the time is to like do that shit. So you have all the cameras lying around, you have all the sick locations, and then the biggest thing is you just have the will and like the willingness to do it, because that's the whole point.
It's interesting too, because I feel like people, this is a really weird thing to me. I think I've met a lot of people who like move to LA and think like that is the thing they have to do to like be successful, which is like so silly. When it's like, you should already be doing this shit that you have to do to be successful. Moving to LA is just make it easier. Yeah, you know, like it just. And if you work it, like if you're working at a 10 out of 10 level in Virginia, and then you move to LA and you're still working at a 10 out of 10 level and like using your head in the same way, your resources just expand like a lot, you know. And I don't know, I've never been like somewhere like Pittsburgh where I've like had an intense, or at least never lived, where I've had like an intense lack of like musical resources. Like, is there really like, when you moved out there, like have you found like not a lot at all musically? Like, is there anything out there at all really you found?
There's a little bit, a lot more like underground like rock scene, but Pittsburgh just as a city, not even just music, has sort of like died out in the last, I don't know, 10 years or something. Like after COVID, all the restaurants started closing super early. There's not like too big of a nightlife. There's, you know, the colleges. There's a lot of colleges in Pittsburgh. But I don't know. There isn't really a lot of variety. And like I have such a niche type of stuff I'm into. And like even though, you know, Mac and Wiz came out of there, there's like barely a rap scene there, like at all right now.
Damn.
Which obviously.
Yeah, I really don't hear about any musicians coming out of Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Yeah, anybody. Yeah, there's not been anyone like really famous coming out of Pittsburgh.
Somebody in the comments gonna get hella mad right now. some random from Pittsburgh is where.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's work. I'm in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
This like always happens though. We're talking about like North Dakota. We're like, oh, there's no music scene there, and someone in the comments like, there's actually a gigantic underground rave scene happening in North Dakota. Hyperpop is bigger in North Dakota than it's ever been. Like that shit always happens, bro.
To each their own. Just listen to my song. Everything's better on the West Coast. I said what I said.
Yeah.
Hey.
Type shit. Hey, type shit.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I don't know.
What
it's lacking for sure.
Yeah, no, I feel it. I'd be interested to visit. Like that'd be cool. I want to come out.
Yeah, it has a lot of really cool, unique shit about the city. It's just.
It's known for steel, right? Like it was like steel mills.
Yeah,
that was like.
What's cool about Pittsburgh is that it was the only Rust Belt city in America that never had a major recession. And so like it survived through, and so it's always had a lot of like art and culture and stuff that has survived through it. And so they like cleaned up the city. There's no like steel industry there anymore. There's a lot of really cool people that have come out of Pittsburgh, like huge people that you wouldn't even know. Andy Warhol, you know, Errol Garner. The list is really endless, and so it has something to it. But I think it's just the fact that coming from the Bay Area and the move wasn't necessarily my choice. That wasn't my ideal. I would have stayed if I could. And so just that fact, it just isn't for me. You know, it's smaller. The Bay even felt small where I wanted to go to LA or some shit when I was living in the Bay. So going from that, downsizing to a way smaller city, across the country, higher elevation, there's like barely any sunlight. It's just, you know, my situation, it wasn't ideal. If I grew up there, it would be different.
Yeah, for sure. That's totally true.
Yeah.
Walk me through, like, I'd be interested to hear your take on like the weekend from when you got here, from like day 1 to day 2 to, I guess, today, day 3. Like, what have kind of, like, been the emotions and everything, and, like, what were the coolest parts? Like, what are the memories you'll take home from this trip, you think?
So, the biggest thing that keeps sticking out to me
and also, like, what we do. Just talk about what we did,
Yeah. The biggest thing that stuck out to me, like, big picture about this whole trip is that before, like a year ago or something, when we had the original plans, like, rough idea for this sort of thing happening in the future, it seemed very daunting. It seemed very stepping outside of my comfort zone, where it's like, yo, like obviously that's where I want to be, but that's crazy. Like I'd literally just make music in the studio. But the thing that stuck out is that nothing's felt unnatural. There's not really been a moment where I felt nervous. Like I've done a lot of prep to get there, but also like it just feels right, you know, on my manifestation shit. It's like once I started getting my music quality to the level I knew could like really give me a start, I just knew that like it just feels so right. And as a like performer, you know, since I was 1 year old, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. And so like that really stuck out to me, and that like doing all these crazy things, stuff that like it still is surreal and crazy, it never felt like imposter syndrome, you know. It felt like this is the right next move. But yeah, so what we did, so we did 2 live sessions, 2 different days. The first day, that was holy shit. That was
crazy.
A lot went wrong, but I mean the biggest thing is that we learned a lot. That's the biggest thing, you know. So freaking we got a U-Haul, we rented a generator, we went to pick up an upright piano an hour south of where we were gonna shoot. 4 guys lifted it into the U-Haul with the ramp, way later than we planned. It was just, that day was a lot.
We were running
setbacks.
around.
It was raining earlier. It was a lot, but we got the piano, drove in LA traffic and freaking rush hour to the first location, unloaded. It was windy as fuck, way windier than we thought. But yeah, I mean, we did what we could with the lack of sunlight. We had a great time. We had a great time. It was rough, but it was literally just like having this crazy idea in your head that seems so unfeasible. Just saying you're gonna do it, showing up, and making it happen. And even though we maybe got 60% of what we originally planned, we just learned exactly what to do next time to do it different. And obviously being out in the windy conditions at night with a little generator and a bunch of lights on it didn't help, but it was, and I knew that. I was even saying this to David when we were driving in the U-Haul beforehand, that like this was going to be one of those moments where in the moment it may suck, there's going to be a lot of stress, but we are not going to remember like most of that shit. It's just going to be the big picture, like, yo, we fucking did that. We went up on a fucking hill in Malibu with an upright piano and a U-Haul and fucking like 7 guys and did a whole band live session. And this was the first time me and David have ever run sound for anything like that. It was fucking crazy, but like it felt right, you know. We got a lot of really good shit. And then the next day, was that yesterday? No. Yeah, yesterday. Or 2 days ago.
Day 3 or 4?
I lost track of time in this speech. LA does that to you. But,
wait, I feel like yesterday we didn't do the live session. Did we?
No. Yeah, it wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago.
Oh, we shot a music video yesterday. Okay, yeah, that was day 2. Okay.
But yeah, 2 days ago, we did one in the living room here at the ATV house. And
the content house.
Yeah, the content house. Yeah, it's basically fucking Sway House.
Here at the Cloud House.
Hey, what are you gonna do? Anything for the content, you know what I'm saying? Even a house.
Yeah, even a house.
Yeah, dude.
Holy cow.
Holy cow. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
I like your little content house. Damn, are you Bryce Hall? Holy cow. But yeah, we did the other live session in the living room, and like the night before, outside when it was windy, we were just like dreaming of the thought of having no wind, way more time, and just being there in the living room. And so I felt so honored this trip, because I feel like I came here and I switched the whole thing around. Like, we got the whole living room to be in a whole different place. We got a piano now for the house,
which is hella cool.
So
and like I feel like it's gonna be so useful,
dude. It's that's my thing. Right? Whenever I walk in a house and there's no piano, I'm like, this house is so sick, but it could use a little piano. And so my plan worked. You know,
dude, I might learn to play piano, because we have a piano now.
Yeah, exactly. You should learn how to tune it. And David
can
learn how to tune it.
Yeah,
we can just have a piano tuning party, and it's gonna be sick, because the piano will be in tune. Type shit. But yeah, so that went a lot smoother. We had a lot more time to get the sound right, get the visuals right, and after doing the one before, we just had experience. Even just the band, like playing through the songs, we felt tighter and stuff. And yeah, so it went great. It was fun. We did a lot of hours, but it was just amazing. Again, like another big learning experience. Still learned some more stuff, but the whole thing is just so fucking crazy. I mean, it's like hard to believe. It's fucking surreal, but it's so sick, and I'm just so glad that you have been helping. Mario has been helping with fucking, you know, camera shit. David, come here. I'm bringing the man back in.
You know what? You just put the glasses on when he came in. That was crazy.
This motherfucker right here, goddamn chameleon of this shoot. Okay, he's worn like so many fucking hats. And like been enjoying it the whole time, and I fucking love this guy more than you know.
It's like my favorite thing about Dave. That's probably my favorite thing about you, man. You always got a smile on your face, no matter what.
Well, I mean,
I remember yesterday there was like a moment where Eli was like telling you to change something that you were like changing in the moment, and you were like, Eli, I just need a second. And I was like, that was the nicest way of like expressing you were pissed off I've ever heard. Like, do you remember that? He was like, Eli, I got it. I need a second. And I was like, wow, that was the sound of somebody who goes to therapy. I was like, that's the sound of a
baby at 4 o'clock.
I was like, that's the sound of somebody who is like in touch with their emotions. That's beautiful.
Mental health is important.
It is important.
But yeah, like, so for real, it literally, like, it takes a village, and
Jacob's here too. Jacob, come here.
Jacob, come here, bro. Talk about wearing a bunch of hats. This man is like so valuable, dude. Like, it's crazy. Like, we'd be on set and we'd be like, yo, can you hand me this? Boom, in your hand. Like, it literally takes a village. And
I carried a whole reflector up a mountain today.
Yeah.
We literally did.
Climbed that mountain with one hand. Up a mountain today.
And we fucking did it, and it was fucking sick, and we like had so many laughs along the way, dude. That's the beauty of it. But yeah, these two fucking guys, like, just everything. Like, it was literally so many years of coming up, just like playing piano good and singing and shit, just wishing, literally dreaming, literally seeing Dante specifically moving to LA, doing all the shit that I dreamed I could be part of, and the fact that we're all here, and it does take a village that I've seen firsthand, but like, I've been so lucky now to find that village that is fucking perfect for the job. It's been just so unreal, dude. Like, I love it, dude. I like this game for real.
I like this game. I want to play this one again.
I want to play this one, dude.
And then what about yesterday?
Yeah, so yesterday, I something else about, you know, your freaking house. It breeds creativity. Like, something in me just keeps having content ideas and being like, bro, just let's fucking film this. Why not? Yeah. We have 10 minutes. We can get another TikTok out of it, type shit. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's basically what we did yesterday. Is we focused on just doing covers, just jamming. Literally, it almost felt like we were just had all those instruments there just to have a full day of just jamming and fucking around and doing covers. But then we happened to film some of it.
Yeah, we got a lot of covers, dude.
A lot. And again, that's some shit where the shit I've done in the recent past has helped a lot with that. Like doing little cafe gigs where I can't really be rapping, you know, to these old people in the cafe. I gotta be doing like Beatles covers and Stevie Wonder and shit. It's just been fucking so helpful to have all that experience going on a little country tour and stuff, just to like get to the place where there's a piano and I'm singing and I'm ready to go and it's gonna sound fucking great and make a really good video. And so we just got to focus on that until fucking like 4 a.m. But you know, that's my hours anyway.
Yeah. So. And then we did the music video yesterday too. That was fun.
Yeah. We did the music video yesterday. Yeah, so that was interesting too, because I like the spontaneity of stuff. We had general ideas, but we didn't know exactly what we were gonna do until literally 20 minutes before. And then we had an idea of like having the piano there, like, and having people push it, move it back and forth and shit. Just going on the Sisyphus theme of like, the minute you're sitting and you find a place at the piano, the shit moves and you gotta move it. You know, it's like it's that cycle. But it was so fun. It was a lot of this trip too has been teaching me a lot of the like, just do it, and then that first take is just what you're gonna go with, and you're happy, and it just has that magic in it.
Yeah.
So like, we did it with that. We didn't do another take. There were little things that, you know, I would have improved if we did another one, but like the fact that the car randomly came
hella
through,
funny
shit like that was like so satisfying to see. We just randomly had this idea, moved a fucking piano to the fucking alleyway, shot it, and then that was it. And now we're here, and and same with like fucking, you know, cooking on some beats and making music and shit. It's like there's that spontaneity of like, let's just have fun. It doesn't even matter. Just get it out and then just move on. You know.
It's almost like and it's almost like the outcome is like the second priority. it's almost like the thing that you do in the moment is the main priority, you know, like the lessons you learn, like the memories you make, like that should be the main priority, you know, not like the final product.
That's what I've learned gets you the best final product.
Yeah.
Any amount of like forcing to the point where you're trying to get the final product in a certain way just fucks it up, and then you get in your head about that when like you're just jamming and doing much shit, you don't even realize someone's recording or something, and then they catch it on video. Those are always going to be the best moments.
Yeah. Do you, like, when you're making music, is it hard for you to be present in that way? Because I feel that way when I'm creating sometimes. Like, it gets hard, dude, to, like, prioritize, like, the, how am I feeling in this moment? Am I having fun right now? You know, opposed to, like, am I, like, forcing something that may not happen in this moment? You know, like, how important do you think the moment is?
It's rough. That's what I battle with the whole like knowing so much music theory and stuff. That's where it almost ruins music and creation for me, is that unless, you know, like it does happen where I just get a random like idea or a melody and like go to the piano and write it down or something like that, or I'm just fucking around and I like something and then it's good. Like a lot of times when I just have a blank slate and I know I need to start making music, start working on stuff, but I don't have that direct idea, then it comes from a place of the formula of the like, let me try this because technically I think that chord is cool, but and sometimes you find really good stuff in there and then can like mesh it with a moment that you happen later that makes it really special. But I struggle with that a lot, where like I don't have that initial concept or idea and then just go at it technically, and then I just get lost and like lost in the sauce, you know, and then I move on. But doing those, I'm never ashamed to make one of those, because it always like the next big song I make, I would not have made without having that downfall and being like, okay, fuck, I need to like let that moment come again.
Yeah, dude, I totally get that. And it's also like the moment itself is really important, you know? I think there's a lot of like subconscious things that we don't realize we're feeling sometimes that like can play into creation in like a negative or a positive way. Like, I think, I say this a lot, I think presence is peace. I think like the most peaceful you can be is when you are in the moment and absolutely nowhere else, and like sitting in that moment and just existing. And I think that's the hardest thing to do, bro. Like, and I think it becomes really, really, really crucial like when you're creating, right? Because if you're thinking about like, let's say you're making a song, right, and you're the piano, and one of your concerns is like, how many views will this get on TikTok? That's like a really, really future place to be, and you're kind of making a lot of decisions based on things that don't exist yet in that moment. You know, it's almost like you're trying to like like not necessarily predict the future, but it's like you're creating something for the sake of something that might not even happen. It's like your reason might not even be real. You know, so it's like I think the reason always has to be what you're feeling.
And I was thinking about the fact that I practice getting those moments, and it's like weird to say that, because like how do you practice those moments? But here's what is, I always say, you know, weed is kind of a performance enhancer. It takes away a lot of the thinking deeply about shit, and you're just in the moment. You like literally
That's so
close your
interesting,
eyes.
bro.
You like, for me, I literally am not feeling it. I'll smoke weed, and then I close my eyes, I go at the piano, and I do this almost nightly, and I've realized this has helped with so much shit, is I just play either originals, because I have a bunch that I haven't recorded yet that are just on the piano that I like want to refresh so I don't forget it, but I do it full out, almost like as if I'm in freaking Carnegie Hall and just like putting on my best performance of my life. But it's literally just me in the studio with my eyes closed, lights are dimmed, just playing the piano like with my full emotion, and there's no expectations, because it's like the last thing I do in the night. Sometimes it's freaking 4 or 5 a.m. that I'm doing that. Everyone else is asleep. I'm about to go to sleep, and nothing matters. You know, I already did the stuff. If I mess up, literally, there's no one or nothing to care. And so I just fucking do it full out. And I do that really regularly, and covers and stuff, just to do it. Like, just put on a little performance for myself. And I'm so lucky to have the studio, because I have a real piano, and I always have my mic hooked up to my speakers. So it's like I'm practicing the performing aspect of it too, of like being able to hear, like, you know, mic control. And even just it helps psychologically having a mic in front of you and a piano, because it's like you feel like you're actually doing something. You're not just mindlessly jamming, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to get sauce in that. It's easy to get lost in that sauce as well, like the mindlessly jamming shit instead of like trying to actively create something. Like, how often are you like just playing piano versus like writing? And like when you're writing, like, are you somebody who writes every day, or like are you somebody who like an experience happens and then you start writing about the experience? Like, when do you usually write songs? Like, when do you feel the most motivated and driven?
It's rarely the latter. It's more so that I just try and do stuff every day.
Yeah.
I also like a big a big thing with me that's different from a lot of artists and producers is I'm not the type where I'll go into like a session, have a certain amount of time, and then make 5 songs in one night. I will literally like last thing before I go to bed start cooking up a beat, just get like a simple part down, go to sleep, rest on it, and then I just like it's not something I'm like actively working to get done. I literally just work on it a little bit every day while I'm doing other stuff. And so it's like I always keep the flow going. I'm always doing something productive, and sometimes it gets to me when I am focusing too much on practicing for like a tour or like a performance or something. But then I like remind myself that I am happy as long as I'm doing something productive towards the music, and then that gets into the whole aspect of like sometimes the thing that's productive towards music is not doing music and taking a break or going out, seeing the world, having real life experiences, so you have stuff to write about. And as an artist, I'm sure a lot of people that get obsessive over it have struggles with that, where they're like, oh, I have to do my laundry, I'm not getting anything done with music. Whereas like really, you need that break, you know, you need that normalcy in life to make the best music. And but my thing is I just like having a rule where every song I have to have one element that's interesting. That's my thing too, is like pretty much every day I have to have something that's productive to music in the big picture. Yeah,
I think those rules can be very grounding and like really important to like wrap the rest of the fabric of your day around, you know. Like I think it'll be interesting, like the further and further you'll get, you'll realize too, like those priorities will change, and like the things that feel musical right, or might not feel musical right now, like eventually will. I know it's like a very strange and abstract thought, but like it's really weird because like, you know, you've been focused on so long for like making, like you've been focused so long on like making the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like actually like realizing like what you want to say creatively, what you want to make, and then like locking in and making as much stuff as possible that you love. But it's interesting because like once you find success, those priorities often shift, and I think I've seen people get too obsessed with like the business side of things, or like the indulging in the nightlife type of things, or not even necessarily just that, maybe even just like connecting with people, right? And it's like you can do that and it helps, sure, but it's like if you're not making the shit, you're just not making it. Like it's just like at a certain point, if you're not creating every single day, like you're kind of shit out of luck, you know.
And that's why
it's like where everything ends and everything begins is the creating, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I do all the little rituals of like just getting high late at night and just singing a bunch of shit, not for anything, but just to sing it. Because like, you know, if shit started popping off and I had all these like meetings I had to go to and studio sessions and stuff, it's so easy to just get lost in that stuff. Yeah. But for me, I know that like I will always be, as long as I have a piano back at home or whatever, I'll always be coming back from something and just mindlessly playing random shit. You know, like sometimes I just get so into it, play for like 15 minutes, just random, you know, just making it up on the spot. And then sometimes I do covers and originals and stuff, but stuff like that where it like beats, like so Charlie will get on my ass a lot about it. He's like, yo, you gotta start making like the songs, and I'll be like, no. He's like, what have you done lately? And I'm like, I'm cooking up these beats or whatever. But for me, it's so crucial to have that as a flow, because like you need that, just doing it over and over again to just stay in the habit, technically being able to like produce quickly and stuff. And so I'll literally make just shitty beats all the time, like shit that I won't even do vocals to ever, but just because I want to, and it's fun and it sounds fire, and I want to like lay down some bass, or I want to play a keys part, and also this is a funny thing, but I like listen to my beats in the car a lot, and so a lot of times it's literally just like I want more music to listen to in the car. And like since I have such a particular taste, sometimes I get sick of hearing the same songs on Spotify over and over again, and so I like to just make what I want to hear. And so then I do that, but then it's like I have my own personal playlist, but then what keeps me going making the beats literally sometimes is just like, oh, I'm tired of hearing this beat 10 times every day, so I want to like make something new to listen to and like pick apart and have as just another thing to add to inspiration for future songs and shit. You know?
Yeah, and it's so weird, dude, because like you can kind of get in this place where it's like you're creating, because like I on one hand I totally agree with you, but I also see what Charlie was saying. You know, it's like there is a level of like you need to sometimes like find the place where like you're finishing things, you know, because I think like it can become so easy to start a million things and never finish it, especially when you're like musical. You know, it's interesting. Like I was thinking when you were talking, you've like changed the way that I look at the piano a lot. I think it's very interesting to me because like you're not like a keyboard player, you're a piano player, which is like very different. And it's interesting, especially like dynamically, because you play like incredibly dynamically. Like your volume wise, you change a lot. What's your piano in Pittsburgh? Like when you move here or move wherever, like are you gonna bring that piano? Like are you attached to that one specifically?
I got super lucky with my piano. It was the Facebook Marketplace gods.
Really?
Yeah, it was Facebook Market. So my organ and piano in my studio were both at the same house. I mean, it was just for the piano, listed for like $500 or something. And there's a million free pianos and cheap pianos on Facebook Marketplace, but it's tough to find one that's actually like pretty good quality and like is easily tuned, none of the keys are cracked, stuff like that, and also just looks sick. Like you see all the brown beat up ones, but it's tough to find the like nice glossy black full uprights and stuff that sound pretty good. And so I definitely, it's now definitely become a big part of my musical identity. Like Sisyphus wouldn't be Sisyphus on a different piano to the same extent.
Interesting. Why not?
Because it does have a very specific character, the one in my studio, because it's like there's certain uprights, like Yamaha uprights, that are trying to emulate just being a grand piano but smaller.
Gotcha.
And like it has a warmer sound, and that's my ideal. I would love to get something like that. But the other end of it is the super honky tonk, bright, out of tune sort of upright, and my piano is like right in the middle, where it's like it can sound like a beautiful grand piano at some parts, but it also can sound like that honky tonk upright. And so that has added a lot to my music. Like it has just a specific tone, the specific mics I have on it, the specific like mixing stuff I do on the piano normally. Like it is now in almost all my music, and so you hear that specific tone in that piano, and that is like linked with me. But I'm not like my biggest thing would be if I got another one to hopefully get a better one and a bigger, because it's not the end all be all in terms of like a Yamaha one or something. Would be my ideal, but it's interesting to hear you say the difference between keyboard player and piano player, because
they're very different.
I never thought about that, but I guess they do have different aspects to it. It's like with dynamics and like just knowing a real instrument, which I didn't have before because I never really had a real piano before the studio. But now that's like what I prefer to play all the time. Even if I'm practicing.
You never had one before the studio?
We had like a baby grand in our living room, but it was more like furniture piece, and it was super out of tune all the time. I never had one that was at the same availability as an electric piano.
When did you learn piano?
When did I learn piano?
Yeah.
So, so it really starts with band in middle school. I joined band in like 6th grade, and my brother played saxophone before my dad played saxophone, and so I started playing saxophone. So that's
how old is your brother?
He's 2 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so he followed after my dad's footsteps. So when I had to pick an instrument, I chose saxophone. But that's when I started to learn music theory and actually getting into playing a real instrument. And so during that time, I learned a little, like doing musical theater was great with that, because during like lunch or something and all the musical theater places, they'd have a piano. And so I like started really looking up different musical theater songs, like the like ukulele, like simple chords like C, E minor, G, stuff like that, learning just the simple triads and learning enough to be able to play songs for all these people around me to sing to. And they'd be like, oh my God, you can play that song or whatever. And it really started at that level of just doing that a bunch to where I could just play the music right away, even if I didn't know all that much. And so after doing that, it really made me fall in love with just playing all the time. And once I started playing more and learning more songs and then taking music theory classes, and I'm like self-taught most of it, so like YouTube has been a huge thing. Like I was like a nerd at one point with piano, where not piano but like music theory stuff, where I would just be watching stuff relating to music, learning stuff about music theory. And yeah, so then piano over the years, just I slowly got better and better. But I've always had a non-traditional approach. Like I never did the full classical lessons and stuff. I always, there's certain things I don't do, like correct fingerings and stuff, but that's because I did it all myself and chose to do it from playing music first before like scales and shit.
Yeah.
And so I actually could enjoy playing it, and then I did it all the time.
That's a really interesting idea. Like playing music first.
Yeah.
That I think is where I fell in love with playing drums.
Exactly.
And I mean, and like even the little bit of guitar that I know.
Yeah.
I think like I fell really in love with that because I was learning songs and like that ability to play along to like your favorite songs. Like I mean, like when I got to the point like as a drummer where I could play along to almost anything, like that, like it's addictive. Like it's addicting, bro. Like it just and when you feel something, like when you feel music as much as like we both do, it's like that feeling of playing either a song you wrote or like a song you love is literally it's obsessing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Well, that's part of why I fell in love with piano and doing that, where it wouldn't just be me doing it on my own. It would be like all my friends around me that loved these musical theater songs, and I would be the guy that would be able to like play accompaniment for everyone to actually sing it, you know? And so just that feeling of like being able to like because you know you have all these aha moments with anything, but like specifically music stuff is like you have these aha moments where you go like, oh, that's how you get that sound, that's how you play that chord, that's how you get that arpeggio sort of thing, right? And so then like I fell in love with the concept of being able to apply that to people getting excited around you. It literally started from me being like learning what the chords are enough to do different like voicings and stuff, so I'm not just playing only root position, and so it felt comfortable to play, and like learning different ways to get in between chords and shit. But then that directly would translate to being super good like accompaniment for all these friends of mine to like sing musical theater songs and songs they loved. And so, and I have that to this day. That's why like it's a blessing and a curse, the technical stuff and knowing so much music theory, because I love the fact that I can tackle stuff technically, knowing all these different patterns and stuff, and get that certain result. Like get people super fucking excited about a trap beat and like 808s coming in because I took the time to learn what patterns to do to get that response.
I kind of think when I was talking about like piano versus keyboard, that's what I meant. Like in the sense that like you can understand something technically, but you cannot feel it. You know, like those are two very, very different things. I feel the same way about electric drums versus acoustic drums. It's like you can play electric drums and they like can technically sound as good as like acoustic drums can, right? But it's like hitting a plastic like cymbal will never feel the same as like crashing on 4, you know?
That is so true with piano, dude. Like I can never go back. Like I have an electric piano obviously too for other reasons and stuff, but there's nothing like And I, you know, one of the biggest battles as a musician with frickin' DAWs and stuff is the battle between like loading and shit not working and all this digital problems and stuff. Whereas like a piano cannot get more direct. You literally press a key, which hits like a hammer, which hits another hammer, which bounces off a string, and the string vibrates, and that's how you get the sound. And you literally feel the vibrations, not like a speaker. You literally feel how it's built. You know, like the vibrations that you feel in your fingers, like the subtle ones, you couldn't get without having that specific setup with the strings and the metal and the wood and stuff. And it really is. And there's no latency. That's a big thing. You know, if you make music, you know, even having like 1 millisecond off, it just doesn't hit the same as going like that.
That's why I love drums, bro. There's negative latency. Like you're just touching something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Literally, you literally just hit it and that's it.
That's it, yeah. No, that's why I love that instrument so much, bro. It's like you feel it so much. Like it's so physical, you know? So is piano playing. Like you play very physically. Yeah. Like you're like, I mean, you're dynamic, but you're also very like ragtimey a lot of the time. So like you hit keys very, very, very hard, or
that's
you go
where
very soft.
Having an upright piano as my main thing affects my playing style, because it's literally built for little tremolo stuff. So if I had a freaking like classical grand, I'm sure I'd play a lot different.
That's interesting. Like slower, like probably more like
warmer, more open chords, like less rhythmic stuff, because that's what you cater it to, that to get the best sound out of that instrument. That is interesting how like even like a guitar player having like a slightly different guitar can change
strings. like strings are a huge difference too. Like
picks.
Yeah,
that's like the
picks.
biggest one. Like literally the tiniest bit of difference in thickness can
Yeah.
change the whole feel.
which is insane. Yeah, I mean drums are very, very similar too.
Yeah.
Like sticks, dude. Like you
Yeah.
feel it, like I. If I'm not playing with 5/8, like I feel it. Like it's like that is the only drumstick that feels natural in my hands. Like
And
it's
same
so
with,
weird.
Like, tuning of
Yeah.
pianos and stuff. And God, that is maybe the biggest headache I've ever walked into. Sometimes I wish I never was good at piano because having to upkeep a real piano to record it and stuff, have it in tune, is expensive and painful. You know, because you have to have the humidity levels and temperature and stuff. But like, you can feel it to an extent. I mean, it's subtle, but like something that's super out of tune, again, I'll play more ragtimey stuff because that's what caters to that sound.
Yeah.
Like the piano we used for the live sessions was super out of tune, so I tried to literally on purpose do more ragtimey stuff to get a better sound out of it. Yeah, it's crazy how the subtle things change everything.
I was saying this weekend, I was like, if I had $1 for every single time Eli mentioned that this piano was out of tune, I'd be a rich man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like Sisyphus more specifically. So like the meaning of that song, what it's about, like where were you when you wrote it and what were you trying to say?
So it actually has a really Sisyphus is a funny one to me because it is so emotional and so deep and so like impactful, but it was actually one that I went through like very technically forward. And it all started because I was watching a podcast on YouTube and they like piped in like royalty free classical music in the background, which happened to be that song, you know, Nocturne Number 9. And just because I'm piano brain, I have my keyboard right under like my desk, always at my hands while I have my computer. I'm watching YouTube, so I'll literally like play my own background music if nothing's going on, or if they're playing background music, I'll like learn it and play to it and not even think about it, but just have my hands moving. And so I started learning that classical piece just from watching it on the podcast. And it was like late at night, I was probably high, and I literally like I was at this piano, and then right across is my real piano, and it like struck me like, yo, what if it literally was like this sentence, like, what if I took this classical piece? It's, take this classical piece, make it jazzier, and then like write lyrics to it and like make it my own, turn it into a whole song. And the whole Sisyphus name literally came out from, I was just sort of like in the zone, like just writing the beginning part, will I ever find the will to get out of my head, which I wrote that line because I liked the double meaning of will and will. But yeah, I was doing that, and then it just came out. It was one of those things where a lot of that song, I was almost like tripping and falling over myself, and it just kept coming out right. And so it's like there wasn't much thought into the whole Sisyphus reference. I was just going along with it, and it just popped in my head, and I came out and I wrote it down and then built off of that reference a little bit. But it's so cool to see how that song has built and now visually into this whole world, when really it started as such a little thing of like playing a little classical song and being like, yo, what if I like, you know, messed around with it, make it jazzier, add my touch on it, add some lyrics, and then it turned into a whole thing that is so emotional and musically interesting. And I feel like it has that really good balance of me being satisfied with the musical complexity of it while still being simple enough to tell the story and have really good, clear lyrics that are evocative, you know.
Yeah, I think it does have that balance really well, because you know you still have the essence of that classical piece, but it's very like lyrically about you know, and it's like a very personal story, and also something that I think a lot of people can relate to, like just the idea of like being stuck in your head and like that idea of like pushing that rock up that hill just for you to, you know, for it to fall on you again. I think like when I first heard the song, though, like I even find the idea of like, what do you do after that rock falls down is like one of the most interesting things to come out of that idea, you know? Like once that rock falls back down the hill, like do you push it up again regardless of the fact that you know that it might fall on you again, or do you stop, you know? Which is such a true thing.
In a way, making it in this music industry and stuff is literally like Sisyphus, except if you are lucky and work hard enough, one of the times you get the boulder to the top, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's literally like that. It's like, it's waves. You go through, I've literally had this so many times where I'll be making a bunch of stuff and it's just not hitting. It doesn't feel emotional. It doesn't feel right. And I'll literally be like, I don't even know if I'll be able to make another song like that.
Yeah.
Like, is that it? And it's just unsure, but then you just keep doing it. And then it's like a wave. It eventually just comes right back. And and then you get it. And then from that cycle, literally like Sisyphus, I've been going up. But you still keep falling back down. But like each time you get a little higher until like you make it and you get the boulder there. And then it's almost like then you're at a different level where you still have to push the boulder up, but you already made it up most of the way.
Yeah. And it's also
hard part over with.
Yeah, and it's also like each time the boulder falls back down, do you figure out a way to push it a little bit better?
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of the biggest thing, It's like I think one of the biggest disservices you can do yourself is being afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Like, I think embracing failure is, like, vital to success. Like, I think part of that as well is just, like, learning to do all this shit with a smile. Like, learning to, like, keep a smile on your face and be positive and not, like, fucking make yourself hate it. I think I've seen a lot of people who've, like, made themselves hate art because, like, I don't know, like, I think some people just take it too seriously, or, like, some people, like, because that definitely used to be me. Like, I think there were times where, like, I let my, like, obsession with this shit like cross over into a place where like I started to hate it, and it's difficult, especially as you make this your career. But it's so important to like stay grounded to the point where you can take a step back and just take a deep breath and realize like it's not that deep, like this is fine, like I'm making silly videos about musicians, you're writing songs, like we're not doing heart surgery. As much as we believe in it, like it's lucky. We're lucky, like we give a fuck this much about this, and not like, like biochemistry or something like that. Like we're lucky to care about something that like really isn't that serious. It's the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like we're not doing neuroscience, which is a beautiful thing. Right?
The whole "it's not that deep" thing, just in every facet of life, has rung true to me so much in the last 4 or 5 years of like with friendships. Like sometimes like,
oh dude, totally.
Like
yeah.
I've had this where like you have a friend and like stuff doesn't mesh, but it's not really like personal. It's like just the vibes are off, but it's not like one person is doing something wrong. Yeah. And I found like sometimes it's better to just step away and just like move on and not have bad blood, not have a big fight or something to end it, and just realize like it's not that deep. Sometimes it's like not every person you meet is gonna be the vibe, and not everything you go into is gonna be the vibe, and it's not that deep. And same with like art shit. It's like you do it because you love it, you care, you make it your whole life. But that's why I like to not take stuff too seriously and still have fun, because it's not that deep. Really, like it's kind of goofy what we're doing, We're kind of weird as hell for setting up cameras and just singing into it, but then like acting like that's gonna do something, and it can, but it's not that deep. We're here to have fun, and just we have certain specific goals we try to reach, and you reach that, and then you have more, and it's this never-ending cycle. But really, it's just like we're really trying to do what everyone else is doing. You want to do something in life, and then you go and do it.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think? Like, it can be either like on a mindset level, or even just like the technical musicianship. Like, what do you think is the hardest thing in this whole thing that we're trying to do? Like, what do you think is the hardest thing for you to grab your head around, the hardest thing for you to master? Like, what is it within your musicianship?
The hardest thing is just not knowing yet. Like, as much as we've gotten a lot of shit done, I've made a lot of good music that a lot of people have resonated with, we haven't put it out yet.
There's no proof.
We'll see. I mean, if you're watching this, hey, thank you. You're here for it. But like, it's I just don't know. You never know. You can plan as much as you want, but you still have to be lucky at the end of the day. But I don't know. Again, I just like on my manifestation shit. I just know it will work out so much in my heart that it doesn't matter if it takes 20 years. As long as I keep doing it and never give up. So like, that's helped a lot, and like having high hopes to get shit done, but also like it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out. You just use that as a learning experience, and then the next time you go at it, it'll be 2 times better. That's
an interesting thought. Like that's something I've never had to deal with because I've just been constantly putting shit out for like literally 5.5 years, like almost 6 years. Damn, that's insane. Almost 6 years. But like,
you're a vet.
Yeah, that's wild to me. But like, I've never had to deal with that. But I've talked to so many musicians that are like in your position right now, where like they have a ton of shit they want to put out, but none of it's out yet, and they've said like the same thing. It's interesting. It's like there's just no proof yet. You know,
Exactly.
and it's like it's weird though, right? Because like the only way you can get proof is by releasing things that you've worked a really, really, really long time on, and then once you release it, you can't release it again. It's already out. You know, it's there, and it's interesting. James Blake I saw an interview with James Blake was talking about this. Really interesting. He was talking about how like he was saying like release days are like kind of tragic for him because it's kind of like a funeral. It's kind of like when you release a song.
I've seen that exact clip.
Yeah, it's like when you release a song, the part of it that was only for you kind of dies. You have to share your baby. You know, it's kind of like sending your kid to school.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's so much of that, and like the only thing that keeps me going and being like, regardless of how shitty it is and uncomfortable it can be, is there's been a select couple of times where Charlie, for example, would show a friend one of my songs and they'd be dealing with something really, messed up with like a girl problems or something, and like something I said or the way I did it musically like really affected them and made them get emotional, and like I said exactly what they needed to say. That type of shit that is just at the core of my drive for everything. Like why I could never stop is if I could literally help one person out there. Like, like Mac Miller, I always talk about how he fucking helped me with his music. I mean, he's helped a lot of people, but that type of shit, he's helped so much. But it can still be done just with one person, and that's all. That I'd be happy with that. If I literally can just take all my fucked up shit, put it into songs, use all my technical ability to make it sound really good and be evocative, and one person can hear that, and that's exactly what they needed to hear, then my job is done. And like that's what keeps me going in releasing shit too. Of like, I'm not in a place now where I'm gatekeeping like without an end in sight with that. Like I'm doing it purposefully. I'm gatekeeping because I know I'm basically getting the baby ready to be released, but I know I have to because that baby could help someone else,
Yeah. It's interesting too because it's like, how quickly do you want to throw shit out versus how calculated do you want to be?
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to just like, well, it's easy and hard, like it depends who you are. Like for some people it's really hard to put things out because they're perfectionists and they want everything to be so calculated, but I think that's the best mindset you can have. I think like if you naturally have the contrary mindset to that, and you just kind of like are fearless of throwing stuff out there and like you're not really concerned about the quality. I don't fully know if I think that is the way to do it. I think I've seen a lot of people do it to be successful, but I think those people are very calculated in the reason they do it, and they're equally as calculated, but it's like their calculations have brought them to a point where like they want to focus on quantity as well as quality. But it's really just about thinking about what the fuck you're doing. I think like really, really thinking everything through. Like that's like really important. It's so easy not to, dude. Like it's so easy to just like upload your shit to YouTube or SoundCloud tomorrow and literally give it zero thought. But I think like that extra level of thought, even being conscious of the fact that you have to think about it, is like what brings like maybe a 6 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. Yeah. It's like, if you have a really, really, really cool world and rollout behind a somewhat mediocre song, the song can still impact people if the world behind it is, is good enough.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's almost like I am such a perfectionist with shit, but it's like I know I need to put it out to help people and stuff, but like that's why I'm being so calculated, is to have the best product I can to help someone the most, because you can find help in any like kind of music and shit, but the fact of it being like art that's also enjoyable to listen to. Like I love making shit that you could listen to when it's not that deep and you're not thinking about it, but also when you're in a really dark place you listen to it and it helps. But like just having it polished too all around, where I can like have the same impact while still having a full product and something that I just get so perfectionist about stuff, so I love being 10 steps ahead while still like I just want to put the best out of the best.
It's super hard to get out of your head.
It's so hard. It's so hard, yeah.
To get to a place where you're like, okay, a bunch of people like this. Like there's a song you have that I fucking love that you aren't as in love with as I am, and it's like, it's interesting because it's like I totally see why you're not. Like your reasons make so much sense, but it's like there's so often I think too where it's like it's so hard to like get out of that place where it's like you hate something for like a very specific reason, or like you want something to be better for a very specific reason, and just like accept that like it is good. You know, it's hard. It's really hard. But it's also what makes you an artist. Like, that is, like, kind of what being an artist is. You know, it's like needing that level of perfection.
After all the technical shit, it's literally just about refining. In my mind, of like, because anyone can throw paint at the wall, but an artist will pick the certain splotches that mean the most, you know?
Yeah. That's super interesting. Wow. That's well said. If you had one overarching message that you could, like, spread through your music, like, before you're, you know, by the time you're done, or just now, or just in the future, or with everything you're releasing now, what would it be?
I mean, have fun, you know, like, none of my music would have been made without the aspect of just having the best memories and times in my life, but also fucking just, you know, just do it. Everyone always says I'm so talented and gifted, and, like, obviously to an extent that's true, but, you know, and I'm sure a lot of creators will get this. A lot of times I take it and I'm like, well, yeah, I had, like, some stuff more than others, but it's really, I just put the work in, and that came from loving it, so it wasn't that hard to put the work in. But, like, you know, if you're starting to learn piano or some shit, just play every day, even if, like, you don't think you're getting better. Literally just, like, learn a song once a week, just so you can, like, play it for your friend. Like, find out a relatively simple song that your friend loves and learn it, and then just, like, feel how cool that is, and just, like, do that a bunch, you know? Like, that's really key to it, is just doing shit over and over and over again while still loving the process. And just like Sisyphus, you know, I mean, you wouldn't keep pushing the boulder up unless you had a reason to keep doing it, you know? It's so easy to let the boulder come down and then you're out. But yeah, fucking, I mean, you know, I mean, it's simple shit, but don't give up. If you're into some shit, get into it, you know? There's no shame in, like, going down a rabbit hole where you're a fucking weirdo and a geek and a nerd, especially, like, as a younger kid and shit, because that's the things that have the most lasting impression for your whole life, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing that separates the people that end up just working a random desk job, making minimum wage, versus certain people that take those risks with art and shit, and then they fucking just do it every day, and not even having failing as an option. Like, you literally just do it with a certain goal and just, you know, manifest shit, you know?
Yeah.
The biggest thing I would say, is it's kind of simple, you know? It's all the simple shit. It's like, there's not really anything, like, hidden between the lines. I feel like it's all there, and it's really just, if you stick to the simple root of shit, be you know, just do it a bunch, get good at your craft, then, you know, that's it.
Yeah, I think I think that's really, really, like, well summed up. Like, those two things you said, like, specifically, like, having, like following, like, doing it every single day and loving it every single day.
Yeah.
Is, like, a summation of it. It's, like, every single day, like, going to work and doing it, but not having it be out of spite, and not having it be out of, like, proving anybody anything, and not have it be out of, like, even, like, a desire for success, like, having it be out of the love, you know? It's like, move with love, like, move out of love.
One thing I'd say, though, on top of that, is that, like, there obviously will always be those factors of, like, you know, in the back of people's minds, becoming actors and shit, even how much they love it, you know, people want to be a famous movie star and shit, and, like, there's certain things like that it's okay, you know? There's also no shame, like, as long as you have the balance, like, it's fully great to be aware of all that shit, but not have that be the sole reason. Like, for me, like, I always say, my sole reason that I would never quit fully is because I would help people, not because I want to get famous and shit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, there should be, like, for me, it's that, like, when I have nothing else, I still have piano in me, and then, like, that's something I can count on. But if that's not a for sure thing for someone out there, you know, if they don't have that rock behind you, it's like, find the things that give you the most joy, give the people around you joy, and just do it until you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Eli Holland, Sisyphus out soon.
Sisyphus out soon. One last thing before we go, Jacob and David.
Oh yeah.
Get your butts back here, dude. Come here, gather around. If you wanna go there, baby, go wide. I can just it, but I can't deny. And I can do why. Yeah. McGee. My name is Eli Holland.
I didn't approve
This
of
is
any
Jacob.
of that. That was not run by me.
Don't listen to him. This is Dante Pellegrino. This is Dante. I'm Eli. That's David. That's Jacob.
Tell them where they could find it. Tell them where they could follow you. Tell them where they could do all the things.
Go to EliHolland.com for everything.
What?
Eli Holland
Really?
Music on Instagram. Yeah, baby. We got EliHolland.com.
I didn't know there was anything on it.
What'd you say?
I didn't know there was anything on it.
There will be.
Okay, so
in the works.
We're gonna cook. We're gonna cook. Just all you have to remember, Eli Holland.
Beautiful.
You'll see it. You'll see it, bro.
All right, man.
That's it.
It's gotta be a
Thank
crazy
you, Dante.
shot.
Thank you for having me.
Of course,
bro.
brother.
Everybody come in, bro. If you are standing behind the camera anywhere, you get your ass in here, dude. I'm not playing around. I'm not playing. Hey, Tokyo. I'm not asking.
You see what I've had to deal with all fucking weekend?
I'm not asking. Here, yo. Can I give you something real quick? Come here. Yo.
Tokyo.
Hey, Mario. Hey, Tokyo.
Hey, Mario.
Hey. Found it.
Hey, Mario. Hey, Tokyo.
Is there a problem? You trying to go? What the fuck's up, dude?
That giggle was insane. You said, you trying to go?
This is Above the Bridge, ex Eli Holland. We out. Thank you.
We did out. I can't stop.
Music matters. You stopped recording?
Minutes.
What the hell? All right, music matters.